Hello everyone, my name is Karan and I'm a data analytics intern at the Sparks Foundation, and today I'll be explaining about the exploratory data analysis I'll be performing on the terrorism dataset. So moving ahead, we'll be downloading the dataset from this link, and then we'll be importing the required necessary libraries for the task, and we'll connect the Google Drive to the notebook, Colaboratory notebook, and after that we'll be importing the CSV file from the drive. First of all, we'll be seeing the values of the column, and if required, we'll be renaming the columns accordingly for our convenience. So this is how I have renamed the column, and then selected only the necessary columns for our further analysis purpose. So these are the columns which I have selected for the analysis, and then we'll be checking for the null values of each of the columns, how many number of null values or missing values each of the columns have, being both categorical and numerical columns. Then for the columns with the column name killed, wounded and casualty, we will be filling the missing values with 0, and since casualty is considered to be count of both killed and wounded, so we'll be adding them in order to get the casualty count. Next we perform histogram plot along with a line plot for the values of attacks in years and number of attacks taking places each year, and we have the graph histogram from the year 1970 till 2020. So in our data we see that the attacks have massively increased between 2012 to 2018, I suppose. Yeah, 2012 to 2018 there were maximum number of attacks taking place across the world, terrorist attacks. Then we go ahead and find out the year wise casualties. Okay, so one more thing, 2014 has the highest number of terrorist attacks across the globe, and the year wise casualties we observe that 2014 and 2015, like between 2012 to 2017, the attacks were at their peak, and the stacked graph shows the yellow color with the number of counts of the killed, casualties, and blue shows for the wounded. And in 2001 also we had a slight increase. In 2007, like these 2 years were massively had more number of attacks amongst the nearby years, like early 2000s and mid 2000s. 2015 had the highest number of woundeds, and 2014 had the highest number of kills. This is the 2014. And then for the region wise, we'll be counting the number of attacks taken so far. So Middle East and North Africa region have the highest number of terrorist activity counts, followed by South Asia and South America. The list is shown by the Australia and Oceania and Central Asia regions. So this is the same data we will be plotting with for the graph area plot, showing the number of attacks region wise. So it also shows according to the years. So for the region we see that Middle East and North Africa, this area graph shows for the Middle East and North Africa, followed by South Asia, and least is shown by the Australia and Oceania regions, which will be somewhere down below this line, this blue line which goes. Then region wise casualties will be measuring, like which region had the most number of casualties, both killed people and wounded people. So again we find out that Middle East and North Africa have the highest counts, followed by South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, now country wise we'll be doing the analysis of casualties. So as you see here, Iraq has the highest numbers, followed by Pakistan and Afghanistan, and India at the fourth position. Spain has the least, about 3,249, and Iraq has about the highest, 24,636 so far. So this is again the bar graph for the country-wise casualties, attacks taking place. So Iraq has the highest number of attacks count so far, and Pakistan is the second, followed by Afghanistan and India, and least is for the Spain. So these data actually includes the entire time frame since when it was recorded 1970s till 2020 so far, about 50 years. So Iraq has the highest most number of terror attacks taking place in the region, and Pakistan, Afghanistan, India are the significant counts of terror attacks. Country wise, when the people were killed were mostly in Iraq and Afghanistan, Pakistan and Nigeria, followed by India. So death counts are quite high in Iraq and Middle East region, followed by Afghanistan and Pakistan. Then city wise we'll be considering the attacks. Most number of attacks have been taken place in Baghdad, Iraq region only, Karachi in Pakistan, and least is for the Benghazi. Baghdad, Karachi, Lima, Mosul and Belfast. This is the city-wise attacking taking place. So showing the counts of the attacking taking place in the cities. Most is for the Baghdad. And city-wise total casualties again in the form of cities we'll be observing. So Baghdad has highest number of wounded and killed casualties, and followed by New York City, which I suppose also includes the 9/11 incident which took place in 2001. Then the Kabul region, Mosul, and then Pakistan, Karachi. Then we'll be doing the analysis on the final analysis about the what are the attack types and what are the counts of terror attacks based on the attack types. So bombing and explosions are being performed mostly by the terror groups, and then followed by the armed assault and assassinations. Hostage taking and kidnapping is the fourth, and facility infrastructure attack is the fifth one. So over here we'll be performing it based on the number of counts. So bombing explosion shows the highest number, followed by armed assault and assassination. Then number of kills based on these type of the terror attacks, like in what manner did the terror group wanted maximum number of casualties to be taking place. So based on the number of kills, armed assault and bombing explosion shows highest number of damaging the civilians, like killing them, then followed by assassination and hostage taking, kidnapping basically. Next we move ahead with the attack per year, so which will be based on the type of attack which were performed. So year wise we'll be seeing that attack count was mostly for private citizens property, and followed by uh, performed on military, then police, and then government structures basically. So what kind of targets the terrorist group wanted to attack, based on that we'll be having the data over here. So terrorist group mostly attacked on the private citizens and property, followed on the military base and camps and police headquarters or police stations. Next is the data for the terror groups across the globe. So attack counts of the terror groups so far in the entire data set will be shown over here. So Taliban has the highest number, 7,478 number of terror attacks performed, followed by ISIS, which operates basically in Syria and Iraq, and then Shining Path SL. So count of attacks is over here by the terror groups. Taliban has the highest and followed by the ISIS. Taliban operates in Afghanistan and ISIS operates in Syria and Iraq. So next we'll be having deaths and woundeds due to terror groups. Highest number of killing is performed by the Islamic States, ISIS, and then it's Taliban, and then third one is Boko Haram. Least in this category is for Hutu extremists. Next we move ahead with the terror groups operating in their regions and total kills they have performed so far. So again ISIS is at the highest, operating in Iraq and Syria. Taliban operating in Afghanistan. So ISIS have mostly killed in Iraq and then followed by in Syria. So their death counts have been around 31,000 so far, and Taliban has killed over 29,000 plus when operating in Afghanistan. So summing up the entire data set across the entire globe between the time frame of 1970s till 2020, for the 50 years, we'll be summing up the data for the total number of kills and woundeds which were result for the terror attacks performed by the terror groups. So total numbers people killed across globe by the terror attacks are so far 4,11,868, and those who are wounded are around 5,23,869. These are the numbers of the total counts of the wounded and killed people so far in the terror attacks performed across the globe. Next is the for the target type value counts, what number of targets types they have attacked mostly, uh, based on the entire terror groups which perform across the globe. So they have mostly attacked the private citizens and property, then followed by military bases and police stations and government assets and infrastructures. And least they have operated with the food or water supply or some chemical or bioweapon thing or abortion related thing. Again we see the bar graph over here for the same target type and the attacks, target type which was attacked and targeted. Now we see here the attack type based on the kills so far. It's basically the same which we have seen so far. So in armed assault about 1,60,000 people were killed. In assassination 24,920 were killed, and these are the further data about number of kills were performed when these target types were attacked by the terrorist groups. And based on the countries, what are the total number of kills taken place till now by the terror groups. Afghanistan has the maximum, about 39,384, and adding all these we get the total number of kills across the globe, which was 4,11,868. So conclusion and observation, we have following things to go through. Number of terrorism attacks were increased rapidly after 2010. Year with most attacks was 2014. Most of the terrorism attacks succeeded and very few attacks failed. Country mostly affected with the terror attacks was Iraq. City with the most number of attacks is Baghdad, all done and performed by the ISIS. Middle East and North Africa are the regions with the most attacks. Taliban terrorist group taking the responsibilities of most of their attacks, all mostly done using bombing and explosion. Private citizens and property, military, police are the top three mostly identified targets by the terror groups. So with this, I'll be concluding my explanation for the entire EDA performed on the terrorism dataset. Thank you.